Away from the International Space Station. That distance, because the Starliner is flying kind of around to reposition itself in front of the space station, that's why that distance is staying pretty constant, even though the spacecraft itself is moving along. And good IF2 burn. Very short burn, prop and rendezvous. Officers advising Flight Director Ed Van Sykes that the burn was executed just as planned. That puts us on pace for the next maneuver, which will be the ACI TIG. Sorry to give you all so many acronyms today, but that's the way this space flight is. So ACI is Approach Corridor Initiation Burn. It is going to take place in 14 minutes and 18 seconds.
and then an automatic retreat once we get to a very specific distance from the International Space Station, which is about 180 meters, and that's about the distance of that keep-out sphere that we've been mentioning. So we'll see some of those next. But in the meantime, we're in a good direction, heading towards the approach corridor initiation burn.
And as we close in on the time frame that Starliner is heading towards the International Space Station, we're looking at a docking time of 6:10 p.m. Central Time. And good time to ask folks if you have a question of us here at Starliner Mission Control or over the ISS Mission Control. Just ask on social media, use the hashtag #AskNASA, and we'll look through the questions and answer what we can.
Monitoring procedures for the Boeing Starliner. They will be performing a series of demos, including a command and hold coming up. It'll be Kjell Lindgren at the helm, actually sending the command. Bob Hines will be assisting, and he'll have the communications, so we'll be hearing his voice communicating to the teams here on the ground, including the International Space Station Capcom. Rob Hayhurst will be the voice from here in the ground, communicating to Bob Hines, who again is working with Kjell Lindgren. About 4.5 minutes to the approach corridor initiation. We're taking hashtag #AskNASA questions. If you have any questions about some of what's happening today, please send those along. The first one comes from Alejandro, who's asking about the crew sleep schedule. Do we know when the crew is scheduled to go to sleep today? launches later tonight. They'll save that for tomorrow. There's no rush, there's no crew inside, so we'll get through some of those procedures tomorrow. Keep sending your questions using the hashtag AskNASA as we take you through some of these next major milestones for OFT2.
And we can see from this camera on the International Space Station that Starliner continues its methodical flight towards the forward port of the Harmony module of the International Space Station. Starliner's telemetry currently showing a distance of 350 meters from the orbiting laboratory, closing in at a rate of less than 1 meter per second, about 0.2 meters per second. And we are 2 minutes from the ACI burn, from the approach corridor initiation burn. That's the next maneuver by Starliner. Rendezvous, in fact, just reported good targeting for the vehicle. That means that Starliner knows where it's going and knows where it is. Both very important things to do when you're executing this kind of a scenario. So.
About 90 seconds to the approach corridor initiation. In the shot, you can see the International Space Station, as well as the Crew Dragon that brought us 4 of the crew members aboard the International Space Station today, including Lindgren and Hines, who are monitoring Starliner's approach. We're looking forward to having 2 commercial crew vehicles docked to the International Space Station. We have passed inbound fly around 2. We're aiming for that number 7, that corridor approach. That's coming up in less than a minute now. That will lead us to those next major milestones, the 250 meter hold and the 200 meter hold, which are specifically demonstrations for this flight to test Starliner's capabilities as it makes its way towards the International Space Station. We're standing by 30 seconds until approach corridor initiation. Again, the teams are go to proceed into the keep out sphere. We do have that authority to proceed enabled on Starliner. 25 seconds.
Seconds to the burn, 10 seconds to the approach corridor initiation. Prop reports, burn is proceeding. And cutoff. Rendezvous reports good corridor acquisition. That means that Starliner is headed where it needs to be headed, which is to the forward port of the International Space Station.
Station Houston on 2. ACI burn was nominal. Starliner has begun force translation on the docking axis. Prepare for the hold command demo per 1.102 step 3 when Starliner reaches 255 meters.
Copy, good ACI burn, and preparing for step 3, 1.102 at 255 meters. Good read.
You heard that the command hold is coming up. We're about 270 meters, so the hold's coming up very shortly. For that command hold, we're going to take you over to the International Space Station Flight Control Room. Leah Cheshire standing by to take us through the command hold from the International Space Station. Leah.
Thanks, Gary. And again, as you mentioned, this hold is being commanded from the International Space Station. This is not a hold that is being commanded here on the ground. This will be sent from NASA astronaut Kjell Lindgren. He is aboard the International Space Station, arrived on the Crew 4 vehicle, as you mentioned earlier. And this is known as Demo 5. So when we reach that 250-meter point, which we should be coming up on very shortly, away from the International Space Station, Starliner will demonstrate its ability to receive that hold command from the crew on the space station. So this allows us to send a command from space to space. It's similar to what we saw earlier when they turned on and off the docking lights. This is required to be completed for us to get the green light for Starliner to enter the keep out sphere. It's a 200-meter invisible line around the station. It helps the flight teams monitor the coming and going of visiting vehicles, and that's all visiting vehicles, whether they have crew or without.
Houston Station, hold command is sent.
Copy, confirming.
Lindgren and Hines.
Station Houston, hold confirmed. We'll pause here for about 5 minutes to perform demo objectives, and we will call you prior to resuming the approach.
And station comes, standing by.
It's great news from the team aboard the International Space Station, Lindgren and Hines, confirming that the hold command sent to Starliner is successful. Ground teams commanding, they see that as well. The International Space Station and Starliner are about 250 meters away from one another, and Starliner will remain in that position for another 5 minutes while the teams continue to do checkouts. The International Space Station and Starliner now flying about 261 miles southwest of Costa Rica and Nicaragua, about to fly over those countries. Still in this 250-meter hold away from the space station. Again, this command was sent from the space station itself, not from the ground, and it was not an automated command on Starliner.
Range 251 meters. Good LEDs on the panel.
Houston copies and concurs, and we're just looking at demo data right now.
Station copies.
Station confirms that the hold is steady, as well as the team on the ground concurs, and they still remain in that approximately 5-minute hold while they look at the data from the demo.
Vehicle mode is hold, current range 251 meters. Good LEDs on the panel.
Meanwhile, teams here in the International Space Station are discussing the resuming from this hold. This view shows Starliner getting lined up with the Harmony forward port where it will dock in about an hour, just a little over an hour from now. An hour and about 20 minutes, that is.
Station Houston on 2 for Farmer. Farmer, Houston CST will be commanding Starliner at 2154 to resume the approach. Starliner will automatically retreat at 182 meters and hold at 200 meters. You can monitor the retreat per step 4 in 1.102.
That will resume at 2154. Auto retreat for step 4 will monitor at 182 meters and retreat to 200.
Good read.
And a confirmation coming from the ground to the crew that the hold has been successful and the data's looking good. That is known as Demo 5, that hold at 250 meters.
Step 4 will monitor at 182 meters. And
The next command for Starliner to resume its approach will come from the ground team rather than from the space station to the vehicle.
Has resumed the approach.
Station copies and we're showing the same.
And with confirmation that the approach to confirmation that approach has resumed for Starliner to make its way to its home on the International Space Station. That completes Demo 5, the vehicle now moving in from that 250 meter hold point. The next coming up will be Demo 6, and I'm going to toss it back across the hall to my colleagues Steve Syslov and Gary Jordan to walk us through what's next for the vehicle.
All right, thank you, Leah. It was good to see a good commanded hold from the International Space Station. Of course, Lindgren and Hein's job is not done. They're going to continue to monitor the Starliner approach all throughout the way, but right now we're relying on the automatic software and the teams here on the ground to get us through the docking. Right now we're still scheduled for an on-time docking tonight, 6:10 p.m. Central Time.
Station Houston on 2 for Farmer. We are going to be expecting a little bit of Radicom, so if you don't hear from us when you see Starliner retreating, just keep monitoring.
Station copies and we'll go.
Ground teams anticipating bad connection with communications from the ground just around the time that they're anticipating that the Starliner itself will be crossing into the keep-out sphere. It's making a good pace right now at about 0.3 meters per second to get to that what the ISS Capcom identified as the 182 meter marker is when the Starliner is anticipated to make that automatic retreat. Right now the Starliner is out 205 meters.
Station copies and we'll go.
Rendezvous officer reporting to flight director that the spacecraft is flying its trajectory just as it's supposed to.